Donald J. Trump is the President-elect of the United States of America. How could this possibly happen? Well, some people blame the Democrats for choosing the wrong candidate. Other people blame low voter turnout in key swing states. Other people blame disenfranchised blue-collar workers who thought that their voices were not being heard in Washington, D.C. Well, I'm here to give you the truly definitive reason for why Donald Trump was elected. You're right. It's geology. Okay, let's be honest about it. All of those factors that I just mentioned came into play. But as usual, the Earth provides the background story that actually allowed these events to happen in the first place. I want to show you in this video that things that happened hundreds of millions of years ago actually provided the basis for this election result and allowed Donald Trump to become the 45th President of the United States.
Nice! Nice! Now put it on, bro.
Let's start with those states which Hillary Clinton was meant to win, but didn't. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Together, these states had 64 electoral votes, more than enough to guarantee Hillary Clinton's win. But she didn't win. Something is in those states, a certain geology, which guaranteed that Trump would have won against Hillary Clinton. What is it? Our story starts there. Those regions experienced very important events 2.3 billion years ago and a mere 300 million years ago. These events were key in turning their respective modern populations into the disgruntled blue-collared workers that actually voted for Donald Trump in November 2016.
Donald Trump likes to say he has given a voice to those who no one listens to.
The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer.
2.3 billion years ago, the Earth was an extremely different place. There was no oxygen in the atmosphere to breathe. Before that time, erosion from the continent was delivering iron into the oceans in vast amounts. Today, that iron is oxidized by oxygen, but back then, there was almost no oxygen in the atmosphere. But exactly 2.3 billion years ago, an event happened which would change the entire chemistry of the ocean. Life had found a way to take out carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, combine it with water to produce carbohydrates in the form of sugar and oxygen. All of the oxygen being produced by this massive explosion in photosynthesis oxidized the atmosphere, oxidized the ocean. The iron that had been in solution could be precipitated, and it was precipitated in vast quantities all over the Earth. We find what are called banded iron formations, 2.3 billion years old. And they are in existence in the northeast United States. Their discovery in the 1840s and the massive extraction of these iron ore deposits gave rise to the Rust Belt nickname that we continue to use to this day.
What on earth is this? That's iron ore made from taconite. Contains between 60 and 65% iron.
Yes, the mining industry today is a highly specialized manufacturing business that supports, directly and indirectly, nearly 250,000 people.
But it turns out that iron is only half the story. In the 1760s, coal was discovered in the Mount Washington neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, also known as Coal Mountain. This oil seam was discovered in 56 counties in 4 states, apart from Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and Maryland. This coal formed as a result of 2 continents colliding. The collision created a low-lying area known as a Foreland Basin. It was filled with continental organic matter, marshes for example, and was extremely wet due to periodic inundations from the sea. As the continents continued to collide, these organic-rich sediments were compressed, heated, and uplifted. The organic sediments turned into coal. The likes of the entrepreneur Carnegie built railroads to connect the Lake Superior region to Pittsburgh. Well, that gave rise to the steel industry. The steel industry provided the background for the entire US Industrial Revolution. It was steel that drove the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s and led to an explosion in multiculturalism and immigration all over the US Northeast and produced the famous industrial cities: Chicago, Buffalo, Detroit, Milwaukee, Gary, Cincinnati, Toledo, Cleveland, Youngstown, St. Louis, Cedar Rapids, and of course Pittsburgh. But all that was going to come to a crashing end in the 1950s. Coal and iron ore were discovered in China, and they were the same ages and had resulted in the same geological processes as those which formed the iron and coal deposits in the US Northeast. The world was now awash with iron, coal, and steel, and these commodity prices plummeted dramatically. And with the advent of Communist Party rule, lower wages and living conditions meant that China could significantly undercut the competition, which spelt disaster for the cities of the Northeast USA. The Rust Belt cities have struggled for decades to redefine themselves. US politicians have tried and tried to offer solutions, but without any success. After all, what do? Entire communities, culture built on the extraction of natural resources. You can't just make China go away and global competition disappear. And now with climate change an urgent international priority, the extraction of coal especially is particularly an unpopular move.
Next senator from the state of Illinois, Barack Obama.
A belief that there are better days ahead. I believe that we can give our middle class relief.
The Rust Belt families felt and still feel forgotten. Barack Obama was elected on a message of hope. The next batch of candidates in 2016 offered more of the same, the status quo, except for one, Donald Trump.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt, and when I say corrupt, I'm talking about totally corrupt, political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people.
He promised them everything. He was going to bring back coal. He was going to slap quotas and tariffs on imported commodities, and he was going to bring back business and make America great again. It doesn't matter how implausible all of these suggestions were. The fact is that the people have been let down repeatedly. They were desperate and they bought it.
We are going to make this decision now. The Fox News decision desk has called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States, winning the most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen.
Donald Trump wins the presidency of the United States. He is now going to be called President-elect Donald Trump. He's walking up right now. You see him right there. He's going to be speaking momentarily. He's got his wife there. History has been made. Jake, this is a moment a lot of people are going to remember.
Well, the first time in the history of this country that somebody who has never held any job in government or the military being elected to the presidency.
Donald Trump was elected because of resentment amongst blue-collared workers. But that would have never happened if there wasn't the Earth backstory in the first place. If it wasn't for the introduction of oxygen, which produced these iron formations, if it wasn't for the continents colliding, which produced marshes and coal, there would have been no industrial revolution to fail in the 1950s, and no resentment which carried Donald Trump to victory in November 2016. Whether Donald Trump appreciates it or not, his victory is in large part due to geology.